Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be part 2 of my Spookopoly readathon vlog, and apologies for starting this off looking like a drowned rat, but I just got out of the shower and this is the only time I'm going to have to film this today, and I want to get it done so I know what book I'm reading and I can get going on it. So this is, if you want to watch part 1, I'll try to remember to link it down below. I'm like the worst at remembering to link things down below, but I'll try. If not, it's on my channel somewhere around October 15th or on October 15th, in that area. Excuse me. Also, my asthma is not happy right now. And it's driving me crazy. Anyway, apologies for this incredible start to a video. I am continuing with a part 2 because I needed to get the first part up on the day that I scheduled it, because that's the only day in October that I had a slot open for it. And I only read 4 books, and technically the rules are you're supposed to read at least 5, or like do at least 5 rolls. So I'm continuing on. And for the sake of having a full vlog to share with you, I'm not going to stop at 5, even if I don't get doubles. I'm just going to keep going until I run out of time to post this one. So we're going to go ahead and get into our first roll. Okay, the last roll that we did, our 4th roll in the first video, we landed on Ghost Tour. So we're going to go ahead and roll. And we got 7. Or 8, sorry. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We got a community one. So these are already shuffled, so I'm just gonna go with whatever's on top. Fantasy. Okay, so I got fantasy, and it would probably be in my best interest to pick something off of my October TBR, because I have multiple fantasy books on there. However, what I'm actually going to do is pick a library book. So I recently downloaded Libby, recently-ish, and I have been very excited about it, to be able to get like digital library books, but I have not been utilizing it because I've been focusing more on my TBR. But this is the perfect opportunity for me to have an excuse to focus on a library book. So I'm going to be reading Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli. And honestly, I started this morning. So I'm not very far in. I am, let's see, 6% in. So not very far, but I think that this is perfect. And then any book that I read that's not on my TBR counts as half a point towards the points that I need to hit in order to not pull a punishment for my next TBR. So I'm fine with reading that. This book has like an alternate title for like the UK version, I think, which is The Crimson Moth. I'm pretty sure. And honestly, I like that title better. I think it sounds cooler. But, so this is a fantasy about witches and witch hunters, and the main character, a couple years prior to when, like, the main story is taking place, ended up turning over her grandmother to the witch hunters. And in doing so, she was kind of celebrated as an ally to the cause of trying to eradicate the witches. And she was given, it seems like, a position of power, and she was gifted all of her grandmother's riches as like a thank you for turning her in. And they execute the witches. So it was like this whole thing. But from what I can tell so far, her she's a witch. She's pretending not to be a witch. But she is this witch helping vigilante called the Crimson Moth. And when she turned her grandmother in, it wasn't out of, like, it wasn't malicious. It was because if she didn't, they would kill her too. And her grandmother told her to do it. So now fast forward a couple years from that, she is this vigilante that's helping witches escape the kingdom or wherever they are. And now there's a witch that her grandmother told her to go find to, like, I don't know, help her with her powers or something. It's kind of not clear yet. So she's been searching for her for these whole 2 years and just found her. And then she was taken by the Blood Guard, and the Blood Guard are the witch hunters. So that's all I know about this book so far. I also think it's supposed to be a fantasy romance. So I think there's supposed to be a romance between her and, like, one of the Blood Guard. Anyway, it sounds interesting, and I only have, I think, 9 more days before it's due. So we're going to go ahead and read that. I don't know if I'm going to end up doing any updates on this. I'm going to try to. I feel like I've been bad in the first one about doing updates for the books and letting you know, like, my thoughts on it, like, mid-read. I'm going to try, though. But, so, if I do, I will see you in a second. If not, the book will be done in a second. Alright, so I finished Heartless Hunter this morning. I was contemplating doing a, like, mid-read check-in, but to be perfectly honest, it wasn't gonna be good news. And I still could have done it. It's totally fine because my opinion of it hasn't changed between now and, honestly, the beginning of the book. Well, I guess kind of since the beginning of the book, but not since the middle. Anyway, this story is about, did I tell you guys what this was about when I rolled it in? Who the heck knows? Also, the alternate title for this is The Crimson Moth, just in case you are unaware. This book follows an FMC and an MMC. The FMC is named Rune, and she is the granddaughter of a witch. And at the beginning of the book, she's forced to tattle on her grandmother for being a witch, because there's this whole thing where the royals are being overthrown and now there's a witch hunt going on. And so anyone who is a witch and anyone who is considered a witch sympathizer are being hunted down and purged. And her grandma basically tells her, if you don't turn me in, they're gonna catch us both anyway, and you're gonna be killed for sympathizing with a witch. So just turn me in. So she turns her in, and then over the next 2 years, she is aided by her 2 best friends, Verity and Alex, to basically go on this secret mission to save as many witches as possible and get them out of the country. Alex's brother is one of the top dogs in the Blood Guard, who are the witch hunters. And there's this one witch that her grandma tells her she needs to find. And so this whole 2 years, she's spent looking for this witch, and she finally finds her, but she's too late. She's been captured by the Blood Guard. So then the whole rest of the book is her trying to find out the information she needs to save this witch. And in order to do that, she has to strike up a courting situation with her best friend Alex's brother to try to get information from him. But he is also going into this courtship for ulterior motives as well, because he believes that she is the Crimson Moth, which she is. That's not a spoiler. But basically, the Crimson Moth is the witch who's been going around saving witches. And whenever you do magic in this world, you have like a signature that's left behind at the place where the magic was cast, and hers is a red moth, so that's why they call her the Crimson Moth. I gave this book a 2.5, and I really like the concept of the book. I think that the concept is really interesting. The like magic system is interesting in the sense that it's all blood based, and there are 3 different tiers of magic depending on how the blood is obtained, and the tiers go up in strength of spells. So if like you use your own blood, that's like the base level of magic. Those are like the simplest spells you can use using your own blood. And if you cut yourself with the purpose of using the blood that comes out of the cut for magic, it leaves like a silver scar. If you cut yourself without intending to use it for magic, it's just like a normal scar. So if you have silver scars on you, that's pretty much a dead giveaway that you either are a witch or you have aided a witch. Because if you cut somebody else with the purpose of using it for magic, I believe it also leaves scars, like silver scars. The second tier of magic is like if somebody else willingly gives you their blood to use, that's the second strength tier of magic. And then the third tier are like the forbidden spells where you have to like take somebody's blood from them forcibly and then use it. So I think that concept is really interesting. However, the execution of the plot was... This is the most predictable book I have ever read. And I don't think the writing was terrible, but it was not good. There was 0 nuance in the writing. Like 0. It just felt like every time the author was trying to be like, oh, could it be this or could it be this? Or like the characters like asking themselves questions. There was no nuance to it, so it just gave everything away. Even though it was trying to be subtle, it was not in any way, shape, or form. And that's really disappointing. I had high hopes for this book because a lot of people were raving about it. A lot of people were saying it was like one of their favorite books of the year. And there is a second book. I'm not sure if it's out yet. I might read it. I might not. Honestly, at this point in time, I'm like, I don't care. If I get the opportunity to read it, I might. If I can like fit it in somewhere or whenever it comes out. I don't know if it's out or not. I really don't care that much about what happens next. I really don't like the ending. I'm just not... The ending made me really dislike the main character. She was already kind of not... It wasn't super bad. She wasn't super annoying throughout the rest of the book. She did make, like, really boneheaded decisions. But it didn't make me dislike her until the end of the book. And to be fair, I feel like in some way she didn't really have a lot of options. But like there had to have been an option C. Because it's like I just don't like her. I don't like her now. But yeah, it was okay-ish. I was, up until the very end of the book, it was gonna be a 3. The end of the book knocked it down to a 2.5. That's really all I have to say about it. It wasn't great. Again, I think the concept was interesting. The execution was just not the best for me personally. Like, I don't think it's necessarily a bad book. I just prefer, and it was an easy read. So if like that's really all you care about is an interesting concept and an easy read, then you'd probably really like it. But for me personally, I prefer my books to be a lot more nuanced. And I really prefer for them not to be obnoxiously predictable. Anyway, we're gonna go, was that book 1 or 2 for this video? Let's see. Okay, that was the first roll for this video. So we're gonna go into roll 6, which is the second roll of this part 2. So we're gonna get into that now. Okay, the last roll we ended on community shelf. So we're gonna go ahead and here we got a 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We got a book over 500 pages. I don't even know if I own a book over 500 pages. I'm sure I probably do, but it's probably like a Brandon Sanderson or something, which is technically my husband's, but whatever. But yeah, I don't know. We're gonna have to see about that. Okay, so none of my physical books on my TBR are over 500 pages. I have a couple that are getting close. They're a little over 450-ish pages, but none over 500 pages. However, I do have one book on my TBR that's not a physical book that is over 500 pages. So we're going to be reading The Darkest Minds by Alexander Bracken, and this is on my TBR along with the first story in the novella bind up. So I actually have, how many pages is this? 88 pages in this, and then 529 pages on the ebook. So definitely over 500. It's a little rough, and I do have to read the accompanying novella in order for this to count, because this was technically the book that I pulled when I did my TBR. So this is really just on here because I have to read this before I read the first novella. So this is what we're going with, I guess. All right, I don't actually have any idea what this is about, although apparently it is a movie also. So maybe I could watch the movie afterwards. I don't know, something about a disease. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. When Ruby woke up on her 10th birthday. Okay, so this is like a middle grade book, I guess. Something about her had changed. Something alarming enough to make her parents lock her in the garage and call the police. Something that got her sent to Thurmond, a brutal government rehabilitation camp. She might have survived the mysterious disease that killed... Oh, maybe it's not. Maybe that just happened when she was a kid. Okay, I guess it's not middle grade. I don't know. Mysterious disease that killed most of America's children, but she and the others emerged with something far worse, frightening abilities they cannot control. Now 16, Ruby is one of the dangerous ones. But when the truth about Ruby's abilities, the truth she's hidden from everyone, even the camp authorities, comes out, Ruby barely escapes Thurmond with her life. On the run, she joins a group of kids who escaped their camp, Zoo, a young girl haunted by her past, Chubbs, a standoffish brainiac, and Liam, their fearless leader, who is falling for Ruby. But no matter how much she aches for him, Ruby can't risk getting close, not after what happened to her parents. While they journey to find the one safe haven left for kids like them, East River, they must evade their determined pursuers, including an organization that will stop at nothing to use Ruby in their fight against the government. But as they get closer to grasping the things they've dreamed of, Ruby will be faced with a terrible choice, one that may mean giving up her only chance at a life worth living. So I don't really know what... Does this count as middle grade? I really don't know technically what age ranges count as middle grade, or if this would be YA. But it sounds like they've got superpowers or something, which is interesting. Was I way over here this whole time? Apologies. So we're gonna have to get started on that. I've got over 600 pages to read. I think this is probably going to take me a little while. Probably the next week, honestly, just because I don't get a lot of time to read. Although I'll probably have a little bit more time to read this because it's on ebook. I feel like when I read ebooks, I get through them faster, not necessarily because I'm spending less time reading them, but because I'm able to like fit in a few pages here and there. Like when I have a few minutes, I can just pick up my phone and read. It's a lot easier to do than like having to come upstairs and grab my book and then like forgetting my book downstairs, and like it's just a whole annoying thing, you know? So we're gonna read The Darkest Minds, and I may or may not do an update. I really am trying to be better about that, but we'll see. Okay. So I read part of the book. I read part of The Darkest Minds, and excuse me, I have decided that I'm going to be soft DNFing this book. I just don't, it's not that I don't ever want to read it, and I will read it at some point. Like, it's not uninteresting. It's just not interesting to me right now, and it's kind of put me in a reading slump. I haven't read in like the last week, and I feel like that's definitely for me a sign that I need to switch it up, that the book that I'm currently reading is just not working for me. So because I haven't not been reading because I've been too busy. That would be a different story. I've had time to read, not a ton, but I've had time to read, and I've given the opportunity to read, knowing that that's the book that I need to be reading. I've chosen to do something else. So I need to soft DNF this book, and I'm going to roll for a new one. So that book is like a YA dystopian book. So there's this girl who, well, there's like a sickness that plagues all of the children and kills off most of them, but the ones that survive end up with supernatural abilities. And the government freaks out, so they round them all up and stick them in these concentration camps, and then basically abuse them while telling the public that they're rehabilitating them. And the main character goes to the camp when she's 10 years old, and then she escapes when she's 16. And that's pretty much as far as I've gotten, is her, like, a little bit after her escape. And as of right now, I can't really tell where the story is going. It doesn't really seem, I mean, we're just kind of like following the steps. I don't know if that really makes sense, but it's like, I want to know what happens. It's just very slow right now. It's been slow like this whole time. Not slow as in nothing's happened, but I just feel like, I don't know. It's just not working for me right now. So we're going to do our next roll because I only have like a week and a half left before I need to wrap this video up. So I have my November TBR here now. So hopefully I can pull something from there. So let's go. Okay. The last space we were on was the space right here, big book, over 500 pages. So we got 11. I don't know if you can see that other number. Got 11. So 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We got present. Okay. Present is a book you want to read right now. And if you watched my November TBR, if you watched it to the end, at the end of that video, I decided that for the month of November, I'm going to read all of the books on my TBR in order of shortest to longest. And I would really like to start with the shortest. So I feel like that's reason enough for me to want to read the book. So we're going to go ahead and start with the shortest book on my November TBR, which is The Body in the Library by Agatha Christie. And I'm excited about this. It's also kind of like a spooky mystery book, like pretty much all Agatha Christie books are. So this is going to be perfect. Hopefully I can read this in the next couple days because, I mean, technically it's still October, but I'm going to count this towards my November reads, even if I finish it technically before November. It's just going to happen that way. So that is the book that I'm choosing. Hopefully I can read this in the next couple days, and then I could actually do another roll in this video, which would be great. So I don't really know what this one is about. I mean, like, it's a murder in the library, obviously. Oh, that's really cool. I like, it has like a cast of characters and a little description about them and what page you meet them on. That is really cool. I really like that. Oh, this book is from the 70s. These books are really old. Anywho, also does this one have it? It doesn't have it. The other Agatha Christie book that I have has like an order sheet in the back for you to like order her other books. It's so funny. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead with The Body in the Library. Okay, I finished The Body in the Library. I gave it 3 stars. This book is about a couple who wake up, and they're like older. They wake up one day to their maid screaming that there's a dead body in their library, and they go, and there's a dead girl in their library, and they don't know who she is. They don't know how the body got there. The husband and the wife and all of the people, like all of the staff in the house, swear that they have no idea who she is. And the wife is like acting like it's an exciting thing because she wants to like solve the riddle of who done it, and she's acting like it's this, you know, fun mystery for her to solve, and not like she just had a dead body in her library. And there's a elderly spinster woman about the town that is super good at solving crimes, and that would be Jane Marple. And the only way she knows how to solve these crimes is, I guess, she's really good at understanding human nature, and she makes a lot of parallels to the people and situations that she observes in her small town, and she's like always right. It was okay. I felt like it's not really one of those murder mysteries where you can solve it on your own and then get to the end and be like, yeah, I was right, and I totally had the suspect, I had how they did it, why they did it, their motive, I figured all of that out. You can figure out who did it, and you can kind of figure out the motivation, but there's a link that's literally not possible to guess based on any clues in the book. It's just kind of like this thing that Jane Marple figures out, and there's not really any rhyme or reason to why or how she figures it out. It's just like this thing she knows. So, I mean, that wasn't like all of the clues were like that. It was mostly just one main thing, but it did kind of make it so that it was impossible for you to guess the connection between a couple people. And it was just odd. Anyway, 3 stars. It was okay. It wasn't like riveting, but I also wasn't bored at all, so 3 stars. The next roll, I am going to do another roll. However, I only have 2 days before I need to film the final clip for this vlog and have it edited so that I can have it up in time. So I am going to roll one more time. But to be perfectly honest, this is the next book that I started reading. If you watched my November TBR game, I talked about in there that my strategy for reading in the month of November was to read all of the books on my November TBR in the order of shortest to longest. And I've already started the second book, and I am about a third of the way through, a little over a third of the way through. And if I can't fit this book into the prompt, I probably will just end this vlog here, to be honest, which probably sounds kind of dumb, probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but since I only have 2 days and I'm already like, there's no book really that I could roll in besides this one that I could finish today and tomorrow. So we're gonna roll, and we're gonna see. We're gonna try, okay? Can always try. Okay, the last roll we landed on present. So 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got Ghostface. Okay, so we got Ghostface again. We had already gotten this one, and this one was really difficult for me because this is a sound-related item, or sound-related word in the title, not item. I had a really hard time finding any that were like overtly, like very obviously sound words that fit. Like, I looked through my entire collection last time I got this, and I was only able to come up with 3 like very kind of obscure options, and I'm not gonna have any better options this time. But the title of this book is The Moving Finger, and I figure when something's moving, you can hear it. Now, that's a stretch for sure on the prompt, but I'm gonna say that I don't care, and it's close enough because I want to fit another book into this vlog, and that's the only way that I can, is if I fit this one in. And there's a typewriter. You can hear when a typewriter's typing. You can hear when something's moving. I'm gonna go with it. So I am about a third of the way through this already. This book is about a brother and sister that moved to the countryside because the brother got in a plane accident. He's a pilot. He like crashed his plane, and the doctor prescribed peace and quiet. So they moved to the countryside temporarily, and they started noticing that these letters were popping up, and the main character, the brother, everything's from his point of view. He got a letter, like all these letters are like very like serial killer ransom style, where they're letters, like printed letters cut out and pasted onto a paper. And his letter said like, you and your sister, like your sister isn't really your sister, you guys aren't really siblings. And after he got that, him and his sister kind of laughed about it. They threw it away. And then he realized that the doctor of the town had gotten one as well. And then they start realizing that pretty much everybody in this town has gotten one of these letters, and almost everybody, or like basically everybody, is claiming that what's on these letters is not true. Like, they're lies, and they're like really lazy lies at that. Like, there's one of the ladies in the town was like, well, they're trying to kind of figure out what type of person would do this and who could possibly be sending them. And this lady's like, well, you know, it's obviously somebody who doesn't actually know anything, because I know some like really juicy lies or like secrets that they could be sending on these letters, and they're not. So it's obviously just somebody who's like messed in the head and doesn't know anything. Until one day somebody gets a letter, and then chooses to leave because of it, in the most permanent sense. And the the person closest to this person is like swearing up and down that what was written on the letter just wasn't true, and that this other person was just, you know, having a rough time mentally, so this kind of like was the last straw and they couldn't take it. And that's pretty much the point that I'm at now. And now the townspeople are like finally realizing that these letters are serious and they're handing the letters off to the police. But that's where I am so far. And I think so far I am enjoying this one more than The Body in the Library. I just think that it's a little bit more interesting of a premise. But I also have a feeling that the most obvious suspect is not going to be the culprit. But who knows? We'll see. So I'm going to finish reading this in the next 2 days. And then we will close out this vlog. Yeah. All right, so this is going to be the final check-in for this vlog. And unfortunately, I did not finish The Moving Finger. Did I get a little further? I feel like maybe I got a little bit further, but not enough to not enough to really remember what the difference was between. I think it was like 20 pages more. So I don't really have any more thoughts on what's going on, but it is interesting and I'm not like having trouble reading it. It's about like having time to sit down and read it, which is a struggle. But yeah, so over the course of the first part and this part, so the 2 parts of the Spookopoly vlog, I finished 7 books, which is great. Super happy about that. Let's see. What are the books that I finished in this one? Heartless Hunter. It wasn't awful, but it was a little bit of a flop for me, unfortunately. I'm pretty sure I gave it 2.5 stars. Which, honestly, 2.5 stars is really, it's not as bad as it sounds, because technically 2.5 is the halfway point for a 5-star system. I kind of treat a 3-star more like the halfway point, but really 2.5 is the halfway point, so it's not terrible. Let's see. Honestly, actually, I only finished 6 books because I DNF'd Darkest Minds, which is unfortunate. Really sad, but I just couldn't get into it at this time. And then The Body in the Library, which was about a 3-star read. So this was really fun. I'm definitely going to be keeping my board, and maybe I'll just use it on my own every once in a while when I need help choosing a book to read. But that's gonna be it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing my thoughts on these books. Although this one, technically there were only 2 books that I actually read completely, but that's fine, that's fine. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye.